Good morning. Welcome to Identify, the news, views and insights from within the events industry here at Identity. Today, we're going to be talking about the pivot to virtual event and the impact that has had on some of our clients. I'm delighted to be joined by McCreath, one of our account directors at Identity, as she shares some of her thoughts. So Becca, the first thing I really want to understand about is virtual events have clearly had a huge impact on the event portfolio of many clients. What's been the greatest impact that you've seen?
Yeah, I think the biggest area for clients has been around educating them on the new virtual environment. It's new to many, so really helping to explain to them the process and how virtual events can work. Initially, there was a bit of a misconception that they would be easier, cheaper, and quicker to develop. And actually, that's not the case. The same level of work is required. What goes on behind the scenes is just comparative, really, to what would happen in a live environment. The other area is really around data. So a huge advantage to virtual events is you have a wealth of data available to you. So it's really educating the client on how to use that data to really deliver what they want from an objective point of view.
And I think we've seen that price point has been a challenge over this period as well. And I think you've just touched on it excellently around the production value has to remain. And I think the investment in content has got to be higher because of things like Zoom fatigue. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. How people consume content in a virtual world is very different to face. People don't have the same attention span. They need to be more engaged and capture quicker because we're easily distracted when we're in a virtual world compared to sitting in a conference, for example. So we have to really invest in that content and make sure that content is completely appropriate for a virtual platform and not for a face-to-face event.
And are you seeing any other challenges at the moment?
Yeah, I think the other one is really around the development time required to deliver these events. So there's a wealth of platforms and functionality available to us, but actually we need to marry that functionality to the client objective. So just like in a real environment where you would choose the venue that's appropriate for your event, you wouldn't choose the venue first and then fit the event to it. You need to choose the right platform once we know what the client really wants to deliver and match that functionality requirement.
And another question that I've got, so are you finding that whereas if they were hosting a traditional event, then the event organizer would be managing footfall and marketing strategy around driving footfall to your stand or your event, clients that are wanting to host their own, is there audience acquisition? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we really have been doing end-to-end campaign management really with the events we're doing. So rather than just delivering, like you said, the event, we're doing the full spectrum. So from audience acquisition, marketing campaigns through to post-event. Now, actually, that's a huge advantage because it means that we can ensure that the creative in that marketing fits the event, which actually leads to much higher level engagement rates from the end user. So that full campaign approach has proved to be hugely beneficial.
And it reminds me very much of the old days with websites, that if you created a website and told nobody about it, it's unlikely they're going to come along. And I guess it's if you open your doors to your event in the clouds, if you haven't signposted people in there, they're not going to turn up. So audience acquisition is very important. Is there any other advice that you would want to give an event organizer or marketing team putting on an event?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to be open-minded, particularly at the brief stage. Virtual events offer a wealth of creative opportunities that we don't necessarily get in the same way in a face-to-face environment. So by being open-minded, being open to innovation and change, those people who have really embraced that innovation are the people who are reaping the benefits afterwards. I think the other thing is to really think about the end user throughout the entire process. So as we touched on earlier, how people consume the content is different. So make those decisions based on always thinking about the end user experience and their journey through the virtual event.
You could even go as far as saying the human experience.
Absolutely.
Just one parting comment from me as well is just being agnostic of a platform is it's like being agnostic of a venue. It's a really good point that you mentioned, and I think it's stay true to the agenda that you've got of your event and work with the agency to adapt that agenda to work on a virtual platform. Yes, they're going to have to be shorter sessions, and you're right, you've really got to think about the guest or the audience and how they're going to interact with it. Well, look, time's up. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, if you've got any comments, put it in the comment box below, and we look forward to seeing you next week for our next episode of Identify. Thank you very much, Becca.